Sorry about that. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. And for those who don't know me, I'm Kevin Corbin. I'm your chairman. And we'll talk about this procedure a little bit later, just so that if you're newer, you'll understand this. Every year, we elect what amounts to a second vice chairman. And then we'll have the person that was the second vice chairman moves up to the first vice chair. The first vice chair moves up to the chairman. And that's normally done in 2-year cycles. Is that right, Brian? So we'll 2 1-year terms. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And let me say this so you'll be prepared. If you're here, we want to take just a minute since we have some new board members, aldermen, council members, whatever here. I'd like for everybody, every municipality, county, either your county manager, mayor, somebody from your group, decide who's going to do a brief introduction, just tell who's here. And I know we got several people. I know Harry's got several folks who brought over from Clay County. It's their first meeting. Guys, wave at me. These guys are brand new, so we're really glad to have them. First order of business, our speaker, and we're glad to have him tonight. I've asked Bob Scott. Bob is the mayor of the town of Franklin, and Bob is going to give a brief introduction to this young man, and he's going to come give us some good information. Bob?
I just want to say it's a real pleasure to welcome Paul Meyer, Executive Director of the North Carolina League of Municipalities, to Franklin, not Macon County, but to Franklin.
Macon County.
All right, I've already put up with that long enough tonight. But Paul is the 6th Executive Director of the North Carolina League of Municipalities. He initially joined the League as the Chief Legislative Counsel in 2009, and most recently, he served as the Director of Governmental Affairs. And before joining the League, Paul was lobbyist and legal counsel for the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. And he was there for more than 10 years, and he was ranked number 25 on the list of the most effective lobbyists in the state of North Carolina in 2008. Paul is the treasurer for North Carolina Go, which is North Carolina's voice of transportation. He is a graduate of Wake Forest University and received his law degree from Campbell University. Paul lives in a historic neighborhood in downtown Raleigh with Karen and his 2 young children. Welcome to Franklin, Paul.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
I was told I'm sorry. Let me try again. How's that?
Better.
Wow. Okay, when you said close, you really meant close.
Yeah.
My wife's going to be mad at me kissing a microphone tonight, so that was a joke, guys. Okay. I'm here to, we just distributed the municipal advocacy goals for the League, and for those of you that are in the County Association, you know that the County Commissioners Association just had their legislative goal setting process last week. Ronnie Beal, as you know, is the president of the County Association, and the League has a similar process through which we develop our goals. So you can see the municipal goals on that lovely blue glossy. Ronnie, how many goals does the county have for the biennium?
45.
45. So the League has 25 legislative goals and a handful of regulatory goals, and we'll talk a little bit about those, but I wanted everybody to understand where we are in the process. As cities, we're setting up for the biennium. So that blue folder, that blue glossy in front of you, are our goals for the next 2 years. These are the things that we hope to get the legislature to do. Now, of course, there are lots of things that they want to do that are not in there that we will try to prevent them from doing or work with them on, depending upon whether those are ideas that will help us or not. But anyhow, those are kind of the goals. I'm going to run back here and take us through a presentation. I'm sorry I'm kind of in the corner. Really, for this upcoming session, the money at the state level is driving the entire process. So what I have here is a presentation that I did not put together, but instead the Fiscal Research Division of the North Carolina General Assembly has provided this update for legislators. I think last week they rolled this out to them just to give everybody a sense of what the fiscal conditions are at the state level. Why am I talking to you about this? I'm talking to you about this because if things get really bad at the state level,
that will impact what they do to local government in a very meaningful way, whether you're a county or whether you're a city. We'll go into that in just a minute. So I'm going to go relatively quickly through this if I can get it to turn. Hold on a second. All right, this is working well.
Can I push a button, please?
Yeah, if you could, that'd be very helpful. All right, great. If you go back, okay, so here are the highlights of where we are at the state level right now. The state's trailing behind about $200 million from what they thought their collections were going to be. So when I say back $200 million, that's based on the projections after the tax reform bills that they passed in 2013. If you remember, the state reduced taxes pretty dramatically in 2013, effective 2014. So this is $200 million short of even those tax cuts. So why is that happening? It's happening really because when they made the changes, there were a number of folks that are withholding. There are folks withholding more than they otherwise would right now, and so the expectation is that all this money is coming back around April 15th. There's so many changes in the tax code right now that they're saying they think they're off $200 million because folks are doing things differently than they've been doing before, businesses and individuals. And they expect all of it to come back at April 15th. So this year, more than ever, if we don't have an April surprise, the state's really going to be behind. Ronnie, can you advance that thing for me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if you look right here, our sales tax numbers are actually up, which is great news for counties and cities and for the state government. The corporate income tax is up, so the state benefits from the corporate income tax. It's the personal income tax where things have gotten a little bit off, and that's because people are doing things differently in response to the 2013 changes. Let's keep rolling. Here's the chart. You see everything up there is positive except for individual income, down $250 million. So what happens if that trend continues and we get to April 15th and it doesn't clean itself up? It means that when the state's putting its budget together for 2015-16, that they're going to be looking for money all over the place. So one of the places they'll be looking for money could be cuts to what counties receive. It could be additional mandates on counties. So for those of you that are county commissioners, this would be pretty important. Of course, if they make cuts to county money, then the county's going to be looking for money absolutely everywhere they can get it, which means bad things for municipal governments, because it is through the sharing of the sales tax through counties that municipalities get their money. So all this trickles downhill, just like what goes down in plumbing. You know, it's the same idea. Everything sinks from the top to the bottom. Let's keep rolling. Okay, let's keep going to, a lot of graphs. We'll keep going. Let's go to page 11. I think page 11 is where I want to go. That's not where I want to go. Anyhow, bottom line is, I'm not going to bore you with this anymore. They're behind right now. They're behind more than they thought they were going to be behind. The governor is pushing, they're already pushing for more money for teachers because they realize they need to do something. Where that money comes from, I don't know when they're trailing behind. But conceptually, all the economists and all sort of the projections say they have no idea whether the tax cuts that were made in 2013, will work to create all the jobs that everybody is hoping that it will create, and we won't know for a number of years. So for local government, it's a fair amount of uncertainty for probably the next 3 or 4 years, which means that it's job security for the League of Municipalities and for the County Commissioners Association. Now, I'm going to try to shift to this other presentation that I have up there. And I don't know exactly how we're going to do that, but I'm going to shift. While they're doing that, let me say a few things. I've been at the League for about 6 years. Been the director for about 11 months. If you all remember, we did not have a director of governmental affairs last year because I was both the director of the League and the governmental affairs director, which was pretty tough sledding. So the great news is we have a new director of governmental affairs for the municipalities. That person's name is Rose Vaughn Williams. So all those emails you were getting from me all those years will now have her name on them, and you'll be very pleased with her. Rose has been lobbying for about 9 years. She's been she's been the director of the legislative liaison for the North Carolina Department of Insurance. Very well respected, works well on both sides of the aisle and both chambers. For those, so the municipal folks and the county folks have just gotten, I think, a tremendous amount of help. And I'm back in business. All right. So, in terms of our agenda, we're going to talk about the election, how it wrapped up, looking ahead to 15, and then some upcoming events. Okay, election wrap up. Let's try again. There we go. All right, so this is kind of old news, but all of you know there was a lot of money spent on elections in our state and not a lot of change. We have, as you can see, we have actually more, we still have a supermajority in both the House and Senate, Republican majorities. We had some House members lose their elections. We had, I think, we have some new folks in the building, but at the end of the day, not a lot changed from the 13-14 session heading into 15. In the Senate, we still have significant majorities in the Senate, and so you have the same leadership in the Senate. Here are the new leaders in the House, and I hope you all know these people. Ronnie's telling me something here, I believe.
You can push it.
There we go. So hopefully you all know these people or have met them. Tim Moore is the new House Speaker. Tim is from Kings Mountain, North Carolina. His father is on the city council out there and has been for a long time. He's a good friend of the league. We've worked very well with him over the years. He understands municipal issues. We don't always agree, but there's always a good conversation, and that's pretty much all I can ask out of any House or Senate member. Skip Stam is from Wake County. He's a long-serving member of the House. Mike Hager is from Cleveland County, relatively new. I think Representative Hager maybe he's coming into his second term. I think last year may have been his first term. And David Lewis, who's been in the legislature for quite a while. This is a good group here for municipalities, very receptive to what we are asking for, and I think for county governments as well. I encourage you when you come to Raleigh for whether it be Town Hall Day or County Assembly Day, I think you all still call it County Assembly Day, make sure you go by and see these folks. Unfortunately, we did lose one of our best senators, one of our best friends for cities, Gene McLaurin. He was Gene McLaurin, who was
You'll do it?
This isn't working at all, but we're trying.
Frank got all of it.
I'm going to say, you've seen the whole presentation now. When in doubt, right? That's why you have this. All right. So in the Senate, basically, same leadership in the Senate. Not a lot has changed. Gene McLaurin was one of our best allies in the Senate. He was the mayor of Rockingham, and unfortunately he lost in a pretty tight election. There are 4 incumbent House members who lost. These folks, most of these folks really were not as helpful to us as we had hoped. Probably the one you all know the most about, Tim Moffitt out this direction. He I believe, stated at one point that mayors were that mayors are more qualified to be homeowners association directors than they should be mayors running a town. He was tough on cities, so we weren't too sad to see him go. But he was a good man to talk with and work with. He was always receptive to listening and talking to us, which is a good thing. And I think this presentation is just totally going haywire on folks.
The slides are flipping by themselves.
They're flipping by themselves. That's pretty impressive.
They're blaming on me.
So what do we look? So what does it all mean? So we've gone through an election where not a lot changed. Cities and counties were under a fair amount of attack over the last the last 6-8 years. We're kind of in the same situation. what does that mean for everybody moving into this session? Well, when in doubt, you throw this away and just talk. What it means is, on the revenue side, there's going to be a lot of pressure, particularly on, I think, the municipal side. The privilege tax. I don't know how many of y'all have a privilege tax in your county. Is this even an issue out here? Okay. So the privilege tax was repealed last year after the Retail Merchants Association worked for about 10 years to get that gone. That was repealed effective July 1/15. So that means cities across the state are going to be down about $62 million. Okay? So you're either looking at cities cutting services or you're looking at cities increasing property taxes, or a mixture of both. So in the context of what is going to be tax reform 3.0 or 2.0 or whatever you want to call it in this session, we're working with Senate leadership and House leadership to try to find a way to replace the $62 million that cities have lost and not lose anything else. What is tax reform 2.0? It's an ongoing attempt by the Senate leadership to expand the sales tax base to include a wide range of services so that they can either reduce or eliminate the corporate and personal income taxes. That's the stated goal of folks in the Senate finance leadership. So we had some major reductions in the personal income tax and the corporate income tax last year. Here we go. It's up. On cue. It's behind me now. We had some major changes in the income tax structure in 2013, and so there's an ongoing effort to essentially eliminate the personal income tax. Some of you are saying, why is that even being considered? It's because some states that we think we are competing with directly, like Texas and Florida, do not have a personal income tax. So the idea is, if those taxes were eliminated, we would be, able to recruit businesses and jobs and all that sort of thing. So what does that mean? What we're really talking about is converting our economy from our tax structure from an income tax base to a consumption basis. And so the way to get there is by taxing services. So doctors, lawyers, engineers, architects, landscapers, auto mechanics, everybody, as a way to raise enough money to do this. So conceptually, we've been told that the replacement of the privilege tax will come through the expansion of the sales tax base. That by expanding the base to all these services that aren't being taxed today, there'll be enough money on the table for municipalities to gain back what they lost. And presumably for counties, to get a share of the sales tax would be growth in the sales tax base. That's what's being talked about up in Raleigh. There are lots of different variations on this proposal, but at the end of the day, this is what the Senate leadership, the Senate finance leadership will be driving forward. The House leadership probably has a different perspective because they've already come out and said they have a different perspective. So what does that mean for y'all? I think what that means is a train wreck. I mean, it means a lot of discussion about changing taxes that'll take a lot of the session. So it's pushed you into June, July. Y'all are already trying to pass your budgets. I think what that means is y'all passing a budget not knowing what's going to happen. I mean, I think that's really what it is. And I know for counties, with your connection to education, that's always the case. For cities, that's not usually the case, but we're going to be dealing with that this time around. So what are we doing? We're obviously working with Senator Ruccio and the Senate finance leadership to talk about this, try to figure out how cities can benefit from this. I know we'll be working with the Association of County Commissioners because inevitably there's going to be some changes that affect both of us. And I'm hoping we won't be at odds with one another, that instead we'll be working together. Ronnie was at the league board meeting on Thursday. We invited him to come, and I believe y'all will be inviting us to come to the board meetings, which is something that hadn't happened in a number of years. So we're trying to build the bridge before the water rises too high, on issues like this. So I guess that's sort of the bleak outlook on money. There's another element, though, to this that's being talked about, and that is redistributing the local sales tax base from its current distribution formula. Right now, the majority of the sales taxes are returned to the county where the sale is made. So if you have a sale here in in Franklin, the money would come back to the county and be distributed amongst the municipalities based on formulas. There is, and after the sale took place, but just divided up on a per capita basis statewide. So what does that mean? That means that in heavy retail areas that are used to getting sales tax money coming back to them, that money is going to be sent to other parts of the state. That may help you all up here. I don't know whether it will or not. I haven't seen the charts. I know that means 24 counties. 24 counties lose, 76 counties win. Is the way if I understand it correctly. And the municipalities within those counties will lose, and the municipalities within those counties will win. So why are we talking about doing this? The stated purpose is so that we can export. Let me make sure I get this right. Make sure that every part of the state gets to enjoy the economic recovery that's taking place in North Carolina. So it's not just the primarily large metro areas. At least that's conceptually the idea. This was talked about in the 2014 session with a bill very late in the session. It was House Bill 1224. The League is opposed to that bill. The County Association was kind of like supported one week, opposed the next week. I think they were trying to figure it out. It was a pretty fast-moving bill, so I don't blame them for trying to figure it out. But it'll end up pitting ourselves against each other. And I think conceptually why that's being done is because we made the cuts in 13. This stuff used to happen with state revenues, but now the state revenues have been reduced to the point that they don't have enough to redistribute the state money. So now there's talk about using the local tax base for that. So just know that that's out there as part of Tax Reform 2.0, and it means it's actually very important for everybody in this room, because what you're used to receiving you may not receive if the rules change. Anyhow, other items for this session that I know that we're working on. I'm glad I wasn't standing there. That's good. We're working on historic tax credits. Has that been used up here by commercial businesses to rehab old, sort of abandoned properties? Is that something that you all care about? Yes?
We're hoping to use it.
You're hoping? So last session when this tax was as part of the reform in 13, there were a number of tax credits and sort of tax preferences that were in our code that were eliminated as part of that streamlining, and the historic tax credit was one of them, as was the film credit you've probably read about or heard about. And so as one of the goals that we have in our blue pamphlet is to get the historic tax credit program reenacted so that private businesses in towns all across the state will be willing to take a chance on renovating and reusing these buildings. So that's something that we know is going to be up front for us. Other issues for this session, extraterritorial jurisdiction. We have always, of course, in cities, a lot of folks that live in the ETJ, well, I shouldn't say that. Some folks that live in the ETJ don't like that the city is making decisions for them on land use issues. Some people that live in the ETJ, they want that to happen. I think it probably depends on where you are in the state, how your land use, how land use is run. But every year there's a push to either eliminate the extraterritorial jurisdiction authority of cities completely, or to make some major changes. So last year there was a bill in Boone that resulted in the repeal of Boone's extraterritorial jurisdiction. So just north of y'all. And the city of Boone has filed a lawsuit against the state, which has led to an injunction over the bill taking effect. Why am I telling you all this? I'm telling you all this to say that extraterritorial jurisdiction issues are going to be back in the legislature this year. And everybody in this room may be very excited about that, but not everybody in our membership is excited about that. So we'll be working on that. We've been able to work collaboratively with the County Association on this in the past, because there are a number of counties where they want the cities to be involved in land use. Of course, the rub is for the folks that can't vote for the city officials, and yet their land use decisions are being made for them by the city. The League, if you read in the blue, we have a proposal that will help to deal with that issue, and we're hoping to get some traction on it. Other issues, there are some proposals out there. If you are a city official, there is a proposal to take all the municipal elections and take them off of the odd-numbered years and put them on the general election. There were proposals last year to do that and the year before. We were able to talk everybody out of doing that, but there's more traction on that this year. So if you're a city official, just know that there are folks in Raleigh looking to push you onto the general election, whether you want it or not. There are also proposals that will convert your nonpartisan elections to partisan, and also to change locally your election style to be a one-size-fits-all set by Raleigh, not determined by your local area. So just know that that's out there. I don't know of any changes on the county election style, but note for cities that is definitely in play. There are a number of other things that I could talk about, and I know that I'm going to get the hook from Mayor Scott, so I'm going to ask if there are questions. I got a whole bunch in here. What do you want to talk about? I've got probably 10 minutes? 5 minutes? Mr. Chairman? Sure. Yeah. Okay. I'm just checking. What do you want to talk about? Yes, sir.
One thing that was up there that I am from Highlands.
Okay, great.
The legislation on aesthetics and ordinances such as tree ordinances, we were hearing that those were on the bubble last year. Where do you think they are now?
So the question for everybody is, there were bills last year that would eliminate the authority of cities to regulate trees and aesthetics and things that a lot of towns are interested in regulating. I expect all those bills will be back again this year. The tree bill was, last year was the second year that bill was run, so I expect, three's a charm, so I think it'll be back again this time. The aesthetics bill, just for everybody's edification, there are a number of cities that have regulations over the aesthetics of new construction. Massing and configuration and just a variety of things to keep the look and feel in a neighborhood kind of consistent. This is particularly true when there's no deed restrictions in a given area or it's an infill type of a development. So that bill was in its 6th iteration last year, and we were able to defeat that bill for the 6th year in a row. But I expect it will be introduced again. We have in here a proposal that will make it something that I think will satisfy everybody, the cities and the developers who don't want that. So I don't want the cities to have that authority. So we're trying to meet folks in the middle, and hopefully we'll be able to do that. Yes, sir.
Could you point out where your ETJ falls in this pamphlet? Did you say it was in here?
Yeah.
Point out where it is.
Yeah, now, of course, I don't have my glasses on. It's a little bit dark. So I may have to find you after when I get my flashlight out so I can actually read the thing. Is that all right? Okay, it's in here. The structure of it is actually like a blended city-county process, not just a city process. So the cities would maintain some authority. The counties would probably have a little more authority, but it would provide an opportunity for everybody who's elected somebody to have somebody as part of that voice. It's a solution that's been used in a lot of other states. We think it has merit. Our membership pushed for that. Yes, sir.
If they change the municipal election to the general, what would be the transitional year? How would that work?
So the question is, if the municipal election was pushed into the even-numbered year, what kind of transition or phase-in would there be? My guess is it would be done ASAP, like they might even, they might try to make a change for the 2015 general election. I don't know how they would do that. I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen a bill, so I don't know. Just out of curiosity, what do the city officials in this room think about that proposal? Because I've gotten a blend of answers. What do y'all think about that? Okay, I've got not good, I've got sucks. What else? What else? What else?
It looks like
It's a technical term.
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Mark.
Yes.
Maybe I don't know what their concerns are. To me, one, having it on the off year is an unnecessary expense. Number two, since that's the only thing that's election turnout, it stinks.
yeah.
So I'm wondering what are the cons against moving it to the statewide election.
Yeah. I think the question for everybody, or the comment was, it seems like it would save money if we push it to the general election, so that we could streamline this thing. What would be the cons to having it on an even numbered year? What I've heard, I'm going to extrapolate from what you said just a minute ago. What I've heard is, with the municipal election, with having such a long ballot, because you'd end up, conceptually, you'd have this huge ballot. You'd have voter fatigue at the bottom. With the municipal elections be at the bottom, so that would be voter fatigue. What happens if we have to do something in the off year? If we've eliminated the entire off-year election, which is conceptually what's being discussed, is to just get rid of any odd-numbered year elections, so it locks you down on state issues that might change, or bond referendums that a city or a county might be trying to run. So I think there's a grab bag of pros and cons on this, which is why I'm asking what people think. What else? Well, don't be bashful.
When we teach everybody registering and stuff, kids graduate from high school, they wouldn't register for no election.
Yeah. Comment was, if you push it off another year, kids graduating high school wouldn't register because they'd be on and off, potentially off. What else? I can talk about other issues. Just tell me what issues you want to talk about. Yes, sir.
Annexation, you said ETJ, any movement on changes on annexation?
Question is, any changes on annexation? Annexation policy changed in 2011 and 2012. Municipalities used to have the ability to have city-initiated annexations. And that authority was curtailed pretty significantly by the General Assembly. I don't envision there's going to be a lot of change. I know there are a lot of people concerned that when they changed that, they also eliminated the ability of a city to fill in a donut hole. So, and this would probably be an issue for a bigger city, where you've got a huge land mass, and then you got the county regulating in really small pockets, creates incredibly inefficient government. So there's conversation about trying to clean that up. That's been talked about for the last couple of years. But in terms of major overhaul, I don't know of any. There was a proposal a couple of years ago to get rid of voluntary annexation as an authority, which I don't even understand that, because it's people asking to be part of the city. So I don't really fundamentally, I don't understand that. So I don't think that will occur. I think for cities, one of the other issues that's important that's being talked about is, to what extent can a city continue to operate and control a utility system? So there was conversation, obviously, out in Asheville about the ownership of the water system in Asheville, and you all probably know the details of that way more than me. But there are fights about that issue, and of course, if you change the authority of a city to run a utility, I don't know what that means for growth patterns in our state, because that's pretty fundamental to how growth in counties and cities occurs. So I think that's an issue that is of grave concern. There's one other issue I did not mention that is very important for cities in particular, and that is, for those of you that receive HAL bill money, which is a portion of the gas tax that cities use to help pay for transportation, either maintenance or development. It is a percentage of the state gas tax. The state gas tax resets 6 months in arrears. So the gas tax reset in January of 2015, and it actually went up in the middle of a period of time where gas prices were dropping steeply. However, in July 2015, it's going to reset again, and it follows the wholesale price of gasoline, which is really low right now, which means we expect 6 to 7 cents in gas tax drop, and PAL bill is based on the wholesale price of gas, so PAL bill funds will be way down for fiscal year 15-16 unless the General Assembly does something to prevent that drop. The state also will lose a bunch of money because they get the gas tax. So There's conversations right now about how to prevent that. We have traditionally said, as a state, we're going to cap the gas tax. Now there's a conversation about putting a floor on the gas tax to prevent it from dropping too much, because that would hurt the ability of the state to do what it needs to do. So anyhow, word of the wise for the municipal folks, keep your eye on that. What else? And then I'm going to sit down, because I know you guys got a long agenda ahead of you. What other issues? County issues, city issues I can talk to you about?
What's the chances on the purchases on the internet?
The question is, how about any changes on taxation on the internet? So there was a bill in Congress called the Marketplace Fairness Act. The Association of County Commissioners, the League, Retail Merchants Association, we all supported that. It was going to provide, it would require online retailers to collect sales tax whether there was a physical nexus or not. Congress wrapped up lame duck session without passing that bill, even though it had passed the Senate. It's the first time it had ever passed one of the two chambers. I would not expect that that's going to come back, and it'll be reintroduced, but it's not going to go anywhere, given the gridlock that we have in Congress, which means that cities, counties, and states will continue to not collect from online retailers unless there is a physical connection in the state.
Municipal broadband.
Municipal broadband. Just a quick primer on municipal broadband. Between 2007 and 2012, there were bills introduced in the legislature to take away the authority of municipalities to own and operate any type of broadband systems, telecommunication systems. Those bills were introduced by cable companies and by AT&T and other communication groups. And we were able to defeat those bills for 5 years, and then in 2012 we lost that issue. Cities were not able to then own and operate. We had probably 3 or 4 cities that were pretty far out there in terms of having pretty large, robust systems. They asked the incumbent provider to step it up for their businesses. They were told no, and they said, okay, well, businesses, if you're not going to do it, then we're going to do it, because we don't want to lose these businesses from our local areas. And of course, once those operations got up and running, the fight in the legislature got even more intense. Y'all probably heard the President in his State of the Union address talked a fair amount about this. He's asked the FCC, I think, to override, I don't know how exactly that happens, but to override all of the state's bills that passed that prevented municipalities, or I guess counties as well, from operating broadband systems, because the idea is it's better for the entire country to have connectivity and access to technology. So there's a big push at the federal level. I know the county association in our state's talking about having some form of broadband investment by local communities. So that issue is being talked about again. Whether they'll pass a bill to allow that, I would tend to think not. The bill that was passed in 2012 was too extreme, though, so there may be a way to dial some of that back. So the counties have some authority, and the municipalities have more authority than they have today. What else? Am I done? Mr. Chairman, am I done?
Thank you, Paul.
Am I done? I think I'm done.
Well, thank Paul, since you're in Franklin, and as the mayor, I'll give you permission to leave. You've got to go to Asheville. So, but before you go, we just want to give you a little token of appreciation for your being here tonight.
Oh, thank you. That's very
That's
kind.
our hiker logo.
That is kind of you.
And
Thank
you're
you.
welcome to come back anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me tonight.
I've been watching the guard.
Yeah.
All the time.
We will, if you guys will bear with me, we'll move fairly quickly through the agenda. A lot of these items will not take very long. First of all, Ryan, do we check that we do have a quorum present?
Yes, sir.
We do have a quorum present. Let that be noted. Item 4, in there is the minutes from November 24th. That's attached, and I'll not read those to you. I know everybody here can read. If I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion.
Got a motion second. Motion duly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. Likewise, we have the treasurer's report. Ms. Kate Welch is our treasurer. Those of you who are new and don't know Kate, she's a member of our executive committee by being our treasurer. And Roger Wiggins is our finance officer, staff person. Roger, anything you want to say to the group?
Just briefly, this covers the period of November 1st to December 31st. The general fund increased by $104,439. We had $1,431,233 receipts, $1,326,795 disbursements, which left us $250,088 in the general fund. No change in the building fund. We had a excuse me, a decrease of $207,118 in the revolving loan fund because of a loan that we made. It's always good. Left us a balance of $758,360 on hand in the revolving loan fund.
All right, any questions of Roger for clarification, or I would entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report as presented.
So moved.
Motion have a second. We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. Old business, we have none. The next thing is the ethics statement. I would encourage you to read that, especially you guys that are new to the group. Basically, if you think it might be wrong, don't do it. How about that? But it's very clear in the ethics statement. And of course, as elected officials, we all have to take our ethics training. And I hope you've done that. I know we got a session coming up soon. Under new business, we have several items. I mentioned we had some new folks here tonight, so we're going to start. Boys, we'll start on this side of the room and just go down and over and back. And if you would just introduce, if someone spokesman would from your town or your county would just introduce your members very quickly. So.
I'm Boyd Stakes, Commissioner of Jackson County. Introduce the rest of them.
Chuck,
You know the name?
Yeah, Chuck.
Let me introduce two newly elected commissioners in Jackson County, Boyd Steeks, and I think everybody knows Boyd from his prior service with Congressman Schuler. Brian McMahon is our chairman, and we're glad to have both of us with us tonight.
And Chuck, county manager. All right. All right. How about next? Town of Highlands. I see Macon County coming up next. Jump up. Get it right in.
Go, Mayor. Anybody else? No.
Derek?
We have one newly elected commissioner, Mr. Gary Shields, but he couldn't make it.
He isn't here. And then also I'm from Macon County, the chairman board, and Mr. Ronnie Beal who's the president of our North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. If you didn't know that, a very large, very powerful group in our state for good things, and Ronnie's leading that. All right. Back here, they've got Graham County. Greg?
Hi, I have a Graham County Board Chairman, Keith Allen, here with us for the first time.
Welcome, Keith.
And Greg Cable is the county manager. All right. Let's go back around. All right. How about Cherokee County? I see you guys in the back.
Yes, Randy Wiggins, County Member, Cherokee County. We have two existing board members with us that are returning, Commissioners Cal Stiles and Commissioner C.B. McKinnon. And one of our new members who's just re-entered the building, Mr. Gary Westmoreland, affectionately known as Hippie. And we have two other board members that are new with us, Roy Dickey, he's also our facilities director in Cherokee County, and Dr. Dan Eichenbaum. We expect that Roy will be with us at our next meeting, so we'll be able to get to know him, and we're hoping we get Dan freed up from the busy practice so he can attend as well.
All right, thank you very much. I know we got some guys from Clay County next table. One of you.
Yes, Clay County. We have 5 new commissioners.
we take the award. But I have two of them with me tonight, Commissioner Clay Logan and Commissioner Randy Nichols. The other three had conflicts that could not be here, but they will be at the next meeting, I'm sure.
All right, very good. Glad to have you guys here. All right,
Swain County.
Swain?
I'm Phil Carson, Chairman of Swain County Board of Commissioners, and the other commissioners dropped the ball, something. It's snowing a little bit over our way and it's sort of slick, so I imagine I stayed in. But up here, our county manager is Kevin King, and they couldn't be here tonight, but I'm sure they'll be here next time.
Very good.
I'll let Bryson City do his.
All right, City?
Southern Mayor Bryson City, and everybody knows Kay Welch. She's the alderman here with me. Pretty good night.
All right, thank you. All right, who's next, fellas?
Maggie Valley.
Maggie Valley?
Ron D. Sloan, Mayor, Maggie Valley, and I think I'm carrying Hayward County tonight.
And we talked with Gavin. He was a little afraid of the weather, I think, coming over. So Gavin Brown, of course, is mayor of Wayne. Anybody else? Anybody municipality? Or I know we got Robinville.
Town Robinville, Steve Hoover, and Jackie Ayers.
Roger Carlton from Lake Santee.
Glad to have you, Roger. Anybody go to the municipality or county that hasn't been recognized?
Mayor of Sylvan, I have with us the town manager, Paige Stout.
Greetings. All right, we get everybody.
There's Mike Fitzgerald, Hillsborough. I'll be there in a minute, Mayor.
Mike Fitzgerald, Mayor of Dillsboro, North Carolina.
Very good. All right, we'll leave everybody out.
Farrell Jameson, Alderman, City of Franklin. Joyce Hanley's here tonight. She's Alderman also. Summer Woodard, our town manager.
Thank you, Farrell.
I was going to have to escort you out.
All right.
I'll get you. I'm Harry Vaughn, the mayor of Hayesville, and very proud of our Clay Countyans here. I think we have, next to Ronnie Beal, the most famous county commissioner here because of the possum drop. And I believe Randy, to the best of our knowledge, is the youngest county commissioner in the state. So, you know, go Clay County.
Good for you, Randy.
All right. We're going to have a brief report from the North Carolina Association of Counties, NCACC, if you have not heard that term before. We hope that your counties will get involved. Clay County, we want to talk with you guys and get you plugged into that organization. It's very worthwhile. Right here in the middle of the room, I think they can probably hear you. Go ahead.
Can you see me all right?
They can't see you, they hear you.
Real quickly, some of the things that Paul talked about. I was in Washington 3 weeks ago. We did meet with Senator Burr and Congressman Meadows and some other senators about the Fireplace Market Act. Or the point of sale about that. He thinks it might come back around. Senator Burr does. We don't know that. We also talked to Washington about PILT. As you know, PILT has been approved, which is big for our part of the world. It's payment in lieu of taxes. And on the SRS money, school money, which hangs from the forestry. Now that money is, the best we can understand it, has been tentatively approved. And what we're looking for is to get that in permanent legislation. We need that in permanent, not just tacked on to the end of a farm bill every year. It's too much money. So that's that. So we moved on to Raleigh. We did have a legislative goals conference. We had 45 goals. And thank you so much from the western end of the state. And Randy, we'll get you fellas plugged in. Every county from our region was represented there, except for Clay County. We'll fix that. It was the county manager's fault, blame it on him. And they always do. So we had a great attendance from the far west. We had a great discussion. Of course, Medicaid expansion is Medicaid reform is going to dominate the legislature for the first half. We have language that we think we come up with that, since we're just talking money and cents, you got to remember the Medicaid swap. The Medicaid swap is the biggest deal we've made ever. The association was very involved. A lot of people in this room, Brian McMahon was very involved in that deal. It saved us millions. It saves your county millions of dollars. They can undo that little deal. So the association and all of us want to be very careful, county commissioners, how we approach that. And so we put legislation down that it basically said we support continued state funding of Medicaid and support efforts by the state to provide health care access for all citizens. So that was sort of a middle-of-the-road agreement. We changed some wording. It's a very politicized issue, and regardless of where you stand on it. But in the back of our mind, we don't want them to come back and renege on the Medicaid agreement price, as you well know. We also had 45 goals. You can go to NCACC and read about all those goals. Another one that really affects all of us in this room is the 40% lottery money that we were promised in the statute when it was passed. It's now down to 17.9% that you really get. Well, no, we're not going to get the 40% all back at one time, but we could like to see it start moving back. That was the promise that was sold on to the citizens of North Carolina. The teacher raise, a lot of that came out of the lottery sale. So this is reoccurring costs. So we certainly don't want to dip into it again. So that's one of the things we're going to be working on. And you heard about the unfunded mandates. We continue to look at those where we worry about those things. And the transportation, we just had a transportation meeting tonight. And the monies, there's no secondary road money for other places we live here in the mountains. No maintenance money, which is a real concern. It's a real concern. So we're going to be, no legislators mentioned that, but we're worried that one of these days you're going to hear the term, we're going to have a partnership with the county. When the DOT says they're going to have a partnership with you, find your wallet and hold on. So that's about it. Last week I was back down. We did meet with Senator Ruccio. You heard about the tax reform proposals. We met with him for a long time. It's very interesting. As far as our counties would go, Macon County would not benefit a whole lot from that deal. Some counties that would, but I really don't see, and nobody else down there really sees it having an opportunity. It eliminates the business sales tax, redistribution of tax. Sounded like a good idea, but if I was one of those municipalities and it's going to take my money. So when you see cities like Mecklenburg and Raleigh and Pitt County, Durham County, Orange County, we talked to all those counties Saturday morning. They're not too gung-ho on that idea. So it's a novel idea, but we just don't see that having much. But Senator Ruccio, when you start asking the tough questions about what we'll do to the counties and the rural counties especially, it's designed to, you heard Paul say, the share and the wealth. Okay, I'll take that. But you have to be real careful because this, we don't want to see no sales tax. We can't lose no sales tax revenue. Now you know that these county managers will tell you you're being held back almost 4.5 months right now on receiving your sales tax revenue back, which is huge. And so we're going to talk about that. But we had good meetings last week and the legislative goals. And again, Mr. Chairman, thank you for your involvement. Thank all you. CB was there. Connie Orr can't be here tonight from Graham County. She's your district representative, does a wonderful job. Brian was there. I don't want to leave out nobody. We've had a good attendance. Yeah, Phil, we broke bread together. So thank you for being there and thank you for your support. And we'll keep working. Our next board meeting is week after next. And you'll be seeing more and more about the legislative goals and what we have in front of us. It's going to be an interesting legislative session. We have the governor. We did talk with him. It's interesting. But, you have a governor who's proposing things to his own, that have a supermajority in his own party, regardless of your politics. And basically, he's not a player. I mean, that's just where it's at. Like he told us, he said, look, I vetoed 2 bills and I got overruled 8 minutes. So it's an interesting time in North Carolina politics. So, but we want to try to protect our counties the best we can. And I told Paul when I went and talked to them, we represent the same folks. So, as municipalities, and it's very key that those of us in rural counties certainly have good communication. So, thank you. I'll shut up.
Thank you, Ronnie B. Appreciate it. Appreciate what NCACC does. I would encourage you to get involved again. Probably the next statewide opportunity we got, Ronnie, is our Legislative Assembly Day, which is coming up. You know the date of that right offhand?
No, I don't, but we certainly want to mention the February 11th and 12th, and I think you said you boys were signed up. That's our If you need ethics training for new commissioners, boys, you need bad ethics training and all this other stuff. It's going to be in Asheville at the Doubletree. If you've not signed up, Chuck, I'm sure you've got. But if you county manager need any information, if you'll just call me, I'll send it to you. Thank you.
Boy, she said you need it bad. I'm not sure what that meant. Anyway, thank you, Ronnie. We have the Rural Transportation Planning Organization, or RPO, as you can see on your agenda. Within that, we have a Transportation Advisory Committee. They met at 5 o'clock today. So we're going to ask Mike Fitzgerald, he's our RPO chairman. Mike, if you would, give us a brief report.
Luckily, we didn't have a whole lot to go over tonight, so it won't be long. We have a new liaison for the RPO, which is Rose Bogus. She's sitting right here. She's the one that your municipality or county would go through if you have a transportation need that you need to get on the state transportation improvement program list. Some of our funding in Jackson County, we had some great success. Joel Setzers thought our division had great success this time around. We will start about September again, prioritizing. You'll be hearing more then.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Next on the agenda is we have the proposed fiscal year 14-15 budget amendment number 2, and that's attached to your packet. I believe that's on page 6. And Roger, would you like to address that?
If you look on page 6, you'll see budget amendment number 2. It's an overall increase of $456,000. Prior to that, the budget was $5,386,909, with an increase of $456,000, bringing our general fund budget to $5,842,909. Over 50%, nearly 60% of the $456,000 increase was in the WNC EdNet project, which is a long-running project made up of a lot of different grants. This one was from the Cherokee Preservation Foundation for the STEM-E grant, and the STEM-E stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Mathematics, and Entrepreneurship, and we're working with, the money is going through us to the schools in all of your counties for science, technology kind of things. We also get to keep $23,000 of that money, so that worked out real good for us.
Okay. Any questions of Roger? Yes, sir.
Could you explain where the additional $130,000 for opt-in comes from?
Okay, sure, no problem. It's not an additional amount. We have that amount, but when I budget, what I want to do is keep the budget as actual as it can be, and we hadn't spent any of the money up until now, and I'm not sure exactly how much over the course of the year that we'll spend. So when I know that we're about to spend some of the opt-in money, then I put it in the budget. But that's complete, and that's pass-through money also.
Okay, good question. Any other questions? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Moving to your next item under new business, this is election of officer vacancy. I'll give you a brief synopsis of what led up to this. As you know, Jack Dedman was, we elect the second vice chairman, a vice chairman, and then a chairman. And it's generally a progression. Brian was successful in the election against Jack Dedman, and he was defeated. So Jack was our vice chair to me, next in line, if you would. And so we needed to replace him. Harry Bond had been elected not too long ago as second vice president. So we asked you last month if you would help us by nominating a couple of people to help us as far as a nominating committee. You did that. I'd like to thank Alderman Jameson back here for helping, and also C.B. McKinnon back in the back. C.B., you're a lot of help as usual. But we met, those two, along with the executive committee, met, and the name of Cal Stiles has been presented. And of course, all of us know Cal well, and he's going to make a good officer. We discussed whether or not to go ahead and move Harry up into that first vice presidency and pull out I pulled Cal in behind him, discussed pros and cons of both ways. I think what finally made the decision was we felt like that Harry had run for and was elected due to that second vice presidency, which if you look through the progression, that gives him several years as far as being on the was. Cal's in his second term, has served as chairman of the board over there, and a little more experience there. But and I'll have to say that Harry was very agreeable. He said he could go with it either way. So that's what the group voted to do, and so I will bring that to you from that committee. I think since it comes from committee, it doesn't require a second. Is that right? Somebody help me out. So we will put that in the form of a motion to elect Cal Stiles as vice chairman of this board.
I make the motion.
All right. All in favor, or any discussion about the motion? Or any other nominations? We had just had the name of Cal, and of course we were pleased with that, but we don't want to exclude anybody if there's somebody
Gentlemen,
else.
make a motion, all nominations cease, and we elect Cal Stiles by acclamation.
I second
We have a motion and a second to elect Cal by acclamation. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Cal, you are duly elected. We appreciate that. Cal Stiles. Cal is the county commissioner in Cherokee County and a good friend. We talk on the phone quite a bit. And just so you know, then your executive committee, there will be myself, Cal, Harry, Ryan, of course, as executive director is on that, and Miss Kate over the corner. So we appreciate that. Cal, thank you for being willing to serve.
Cal was on the State Water Infrastructure Sewer Board and Water Funds, and he has gotten Robbinsville, the town of Robbinsville, a lot of money, and we sure appreciate it. So his main theme is neighborism, and that's Cal should do good in this.
Good. Did you hear that, Cal? He's bragging on you.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate this, but I've kind of grown up with Southwestern. My father-in-law was on here years ago, Ty Burnett, when they hired Bill Gibson, if that tells you anything, how long that's been. And so I've heard Southwestern Commission a good portion of my life, so I realize the value this organization brings to our South County region. So I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Cal. And just so you guys know, and we've talked about this on our executive committee, and I know I've talked to Cal, and he's in agreement with me. One of our goals, or several of the goals that I set forth, that I really wanted to make sure we did, communicate. We want to communicate with you effectively, let you know what's going on, promote understanding of what we do, why this organization exists, the things we're involved in, because I think sometimes there's an assumption when you have new commissioners like these guys from Clay County, we just assume that you know everything about what we're doing. That's not true. When you're newly elected, you don't know what all those acronyms are and what all those things mean. So we're going to try to do a better job of communicating that. Ryan has done an excellent job over the past few months traveling to the cities and counties and explaining to them what this group's about. Because we learned a long time ago, people don't fully understand something, they'll just make things up. You guys know that. So that's a goal we've got, and I know Cal joins us in that. And also we want the involvement of every city and every county, and I think we're very close to accomplishing that. So thank you. Just a brief word, the audit update. As you know, there was a situation occurred we discussed at the executive committee. There was basically the employee with the audit company that did our audit disappeared, for lack of a better term, went missing for a period of time. I think she's okay, but that with her went the computer and everything to do with that. So it's no fault of this organization, certainly Ryan or Roger or any of our people. But you will have that report in the March meeting, is what I understand. So just so you know, that normally would have been presented to us by now, but that was circumstances beyond our control. Number 7, and I'll discuss this briefly. Everybody have the booklet that was passed out with your packet. If you would take that out, it's a green covered booklet. I've seen most of you looking that over. This is a year review annual report, if you would. Very well put together. It's got a message from me in there, a message from Ryan. Good information. I hope you'll take that home and read it. If you'll flip over to page, let's see, 1, 2, 3, there's a story, a little bit of information about the revolving loan fund, and that's what we're talking about now. That's money that's available for businesses in our region, and if you want to know more about that, we won't take time in this meeting, but if you have a business you think might qualify, what really is good for this is businesses that, for whatever reason, don't qualify for a regular loan from a bank. Maybe it's a new startup. Maybe their capital just isn't what it should be. Or maybe they're a startup business with something a little unusual, which is what we're talking about tonight. But we met, let's see, this was last week. We met, an executive committee met, and Fandec is a virtual company that's expanding in Haywood County. They intend to hire about 17 employees during the first 2 years of the expansion. Fandec is a company in the design industry to offer an all-in-one solution of presenting, ordering, and delivering, which bridges the gaps between the client, designer, manufacturer, and logistics companies. So they're very much a high-tech type company. They're saying around 17 employees. I think they plan to grow more than that. Your revolving loan fund governance committee recommends that the commission board give conditional approval for Fandec proposal. We had some pending issues with the collateral and also about a lease. We had some unanswered questions on that. But we're asking for your tentative approval. If we get the answers to that we can structure the loan. I believe it's a 10-year amortization with a 5-year call, and what they ask is $200,000. And at this point, our governance committee is recommending that with your approval. If we can get those final questions answered, then we would approve that loan. And if not, we would, Ryan, I guess, go back to the drawing board with them. So any questions of that? Either how that works, or I can tell you that in our meeting, since Cal was a probable member voted in tonight, we asked him to join us. So Cal was there along with the rest of us. Also, we had a representative from
Ken Flint from Western Carolina University.
Right. He did a lot of the legwork on this. So any questions about the loan, about the company? I've given you a brief overview, but don't want to keep you all night. And again, if you would give us tentative approval, given that we get those final couple of questions answered. Questions, or do we have a motion to approve the loan as presented?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Any second? Second. We got a second. How about any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, this also gives the authorization to you or the director to go ahead and close the loan?
Yes.
With the same motion?
Yes. Yeah, we've got a couple of questions that's left to be answered before we felt like it was for sure, but we'll get those questions answered, or we won't move forward. So, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. We'll move along very quickly. Director's report. Ryan?
Thank you. For the new ones that I have not met yet, my name is Ryan Sherby. I'm your executive director for this organization. And could staff please stand up real quick to be recognized? We have a cross-section. This is a small cross-section of staff. We try to not be heavy staffed at the meeting because it does cost money to have staff here. So we're definitely cognizant of that. Deborah works hard every couple of years to keep an updated Southwestern Commission regional directory. These are all the elected officials in our directory. Their photos are in there. She tracks you down on the internet. If you don't like your photo, you can send us a replacement because she scours the internet. So those of you that are new, I think Deborah printed a couple dozen of these, so make sure the new folks get one first. This is also available in digital format on our website. Thank you, Deborah, for keeping up with this. Also, as Chairman Corbin mentioned, our year in review. We started this tradition last year when you all appointed me as director, and it's a small sampling of projects that we are working on. We try not to overwhelm you. We try to make it easily readable, and we try to keep statistics out of it. So these are more stories than anything. And you'll see the revolving loan fund does have a prominent position in the report. Our executive committee and nominations committee weren't very fluent in the revolving loan fund and requested that I just give you a real quick overview of that fund. We can loan $50,000 to $200,000 at a time. The governance committee sets the rate. Typically, it's been between 4% and 8%. These are for small businesses to create jobs in our communities. We like to see $25,000 borrowed at least per job created. So if somebody wants to borrow money and not create any jobs, they're not a very competitive candidate. However, we can count job retention. If we have an employer that is at risk of going, we can deploy funds for that as well. Gavin Brown is still serving on that committee. As you all know, Gavin is an attorney. He is running FanDebt through the ringer right now, and that's what Chairman Corbett referenced. We have a couple lingering issues that if come out negative, it'll be a deal killer. It could be just be misunderstandings. We'll get the answers, we'll make that loan. Our balance is, that was in your treasurer's report, it's roughly $800,000. So we do have money to loan. So if you have a small business that has been turned down by a bank, because we do not compete with commercial banks, send them to me or one of the staff at the Southwestern Commission, and we will arrange a visit. The operating plan, the brochure is on our website. You can point them to our website as well. And lastly, we always try to include the unemployment trend. We send these out to the county managers too, typically. When this data becomes available, it lags about a month and a half or two. And you can see how our unemployment rates have trended over the last couple of years. That's the line trend chart in your packet. So unless anybody has any questions, that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Ryan. And just a word about Ryan. His wife went through some pretty serious surgery this past week, and so he's been her caretaker. I talked to him today. He hadn't slept but a couple hours, and so I know he's been tired, but we appreciate you, and you're certainly our thoughts and prayers as you go through this time of healing in your family. Just a couple of notes on our meeting schedule. If you look inside your packet, there's future meetings, and I hope you'll go ahead and mark those down, save the date if you would. We had I'll note the two changes is the May meeting will be on May 19th. Then the annual dinner, which is the 50th celebration, will be on Friday, July 31st at McGuire's Mill Race Farm in Murphy. And you notice the meeting say TDB, to be determined. We have met, this group had met traditionally in Cherokee at what was the old Holiday Inn, I guess, and what is it now? Chestnut, yeah. And there was a brief period of time where they weren't doing outside meetings, I suppose, so we moved them here. And there was some thought maybe to go back there. If you have thoughts concerning that, let us know. We realize it's closer for some of you, it's further for some of you. So somewhere between here and Sylvan, Cherokee is sort of the center of the district. So if you have thoughts about that, just get those to myself or to Ryan, and we'll...
It's resolved.
What's that?
We should resolve where
the March meeting. You guys want to go ahead and decide now? We may have your suggestions about where to have the March meeting. Any thoughts about that?
It's the center of the universe, Mr. Chairman, right here.
What's that?
You're the center of the universe, right here.
Mr. Bill made a claim that this was the center of the universe right here. I don't know about the hold up in court, but we can certainly have the March meeting here, and then we can talk about where to have other meetings. But I agree with Ryan. We need to probably decide that tonight, so we're about to leave with. I'm not sure.
We have reached out. We have not heard back.
Okay, we did discuss whether the former location was available, and we talked about that at our last executive committee meeting, I guess, and Ron has reached out to them. He's not heard back. So
we have the March meeting here.
So we'll if no objection, we'll have we've had a couple of suggestions to have the March meeting here, and then we'll determine after that whether that particular facility or another is available. So please mark those dates. You do have the list of that. Those in your packet. Public comment. This is a time we are a meeting of several public bodies, if you would. So we like to give the time for public comment. If anybody had anything to add, Ryan, you know of anything else or any other business? If not, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate you very much being here. A couple of members of our media that are here. Bobby Coggins has a Thunder Pig website, and they do video, and then Ryan is with the Franklin Press. We'd like to recognize them, and we'd certainly like to have any of your local media that can be at these meetings in the future. Let them know. If nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. In favor of that, stand to your feet. Shake somebody's hand before you leave. Thank you very much. Good meeting.